what do I say to my clients? Whatever the message that you mentally worked out and wrote down and put on Google Doc on paper and read it and memorized it, say it as it would be a song. To experiment that in between. How is it to be in between speaking and singing? I am doing it now. So even just one thing, like using the silence more, can change so much the reception of the speech. Just to play with tempo, pitch, tone, volume, and my favorite, break. So silence. Immediately, the level of connectedness in the communication goes up. Why? Because my people start to connect to their bodies. The second part of your question, like, what is to be connected to the body? I literally teach my women, speak that word from your vagina and say it from your
Whoa.
vagina. Yeah. Yeah, you can take that, Marcia, teacher, lawyer, students,
That's going to be my quote on LinkedIn, and I'll probably get banned.
It's on LinkedIn. You already find it.
Welcome to the Illuminating Wisdom podcast. I'm your host, Marcia Narayan Weldon, and I'm a lawyer, business strategist, corporate trainer, and executive coach. Each week, I'm going to bring you my favorite entrepreneurs, thought leaders, legal professionals, and other coaches who will inspire, educate, and empower you.
Welcome to the show. We actually have a superstar in our midst today. We have Bea Palya. You are a world-renowned singer. You are an actress, but you have called yourself a self-proclaimed half gypsy from Hungary who actually has sung on the stages all over the world, including Carnegie Hall. So first of all, welcome. And how did you get from a little village in Hungary to the world's greatest stages?
Thank you so much for this question, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And so it's a big question. Like, this question can just cover my life story. But in short, if I need to give a short answer to that question, is that consistent action and a lot of singing. Like, this is very crazily simple as that, but like doing a lot of things, a lot of the thing that I like doing, which is the singing. But of course, I can give you a larger answer because the context is that I'm literally half gypsy woman, so daughter of a gypsy woman. And so my mother, felt very marginalized. So am I. So I was. Just to give an example, as a gypsy girl, I needed always to sit in the last row in school because
Wow.
somehow that was gypsy's role. But it happened to be that I was very smart, so the teacher, after a certain time, it's the other thing that I was smarter than average. So it was another difficulty because it was another standing out thing, which was not comfortable at all when I was a child. So I was a gypsy, marginalized. My mother wanted to prove her life and become better, richer, belonging to the society, to the village, being accepted, loved, maybe even. And so I got this heritage that if you want to be accepted by society, you need to work hard. So it's my other heritage that hard work. This was the only way I know for like almost up until now. So it's one thing that I like. I love singing still, and I've been singing always. But the other thing is that I kept doing these consistent actions that got me to Carnegie Hall. So, and
And
also,
how old were you? How old were you when you got to Carnegie Hall? So you'd been singing your whole life. So
yes,
you, by the way, the second person I know who has sung at Carnegie Hall. I can't
beautiful.
even sing in the shower. The other one is my very good friend. And I went to go see her, and it was one of the highlights of my life. But
Oh, beautiful.
it's not easy, right? And,
No.
and they make the jokes, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, which is pretty much what you're saying. But
Yeah.
there are a lot of people who practice and sing for years, but they never get there. So what were you doing, and were you to get discovered, or did you audition for a role? How did you even get there?
It was 2009, so I must be something like 30 something. I'm 47 now. So it was 15 years ago. So I was 32 or so. But it was the Hungarian culture season in New York and Washington. Actually, I also sang in Kennedy Center, right? They
Oh,
almost did the
just
chat.
throws that out
Sorry,
there. Oh yeah,
sorry
also
to
I forgot. I
mention that.
almost forgot about Kennedy Center. Yeah, okay.
But it was a dedicated season, like a month of cultural programs in New York and
Mhm,
in Washington for Hungarian culture. And the funny thing is that first they wanted me to go back to a girls band. I was not a member anyway, so at all already, because I just did the one concert, and then I said no, it's something else that I want to do. So they were begging me, please come back because we want to show the Hungarian girls. And I said, no, it's not my values. It's not aligned with my values in terms of
mm.
music. Okay, then send us something from your music. Okay, here it is. And then Carnegie Hall said, yeah, we want that. And it's so funny we talk about that, because in 2009, when I entered to the 55th Street and 3rd Street, I don't know, Wellington,
Mhm,
somewhere
mhm.
in around Carnegie Hall, and then I entered and I saw my huge face, and it says sold out. Like,
Wow.
yes. So it was a little crazy, but it was also partly the fact that in Hungary, I made already my career pretty high. I was
Mhm.
also the ambassador of Hungarian culture. So people knew about me, that if I go to a stage, there will be something that happens in people's body and heart and ears. And so it was the thing that I got standing ovation in the end. So it was,
Wonderful.
it's without being, very bragging or something, but it was that's just the data.
No, that's
So
something to celebrate, and we shouldn't don't diminish that at all. It's interesting. You said two things that I think have general application because I will never be in Carnegie Hall ever unless I'm going to see somebody I know. All right, but you talked about two things: the consistency of practicing and continuing and becoming an expert. Well, three things. Number two, being such an expert, such at the top of your field that people know you. So you built your brand and your
yeah,
reputation. And then three, you stood up for your values. You said, I'm not going to do that.
yeah.
I'll do this. So you potentially turned down a potentially life changing opportunity to stand by what was aligned with you. And so few people can do that. Now, where did you get that fortitude to say, I'm just not going to do that? I know that that's what you want, but this is who I am and I'm going to stick with that.
Oh my God, Marcia, I've never been talking about that. This little piece of my Carnegie Hall concert. So thank you so much for highlighting this. That, yeah, I stood up with my values because it was so important. How did I get this power? Because I think when I make music, when I sing, when I write a song, there's too much at stake. I sing about my own life. I want to heal myself and the people who listens to me. So less than that, I just cannot do, because it will be not true towards life. You see? So it's, and of course I wasn't that conscious back then. I just knew that something is not right if I go there because it's
Hmm.
Carnegie Hall. And sorry, Carnegie Hall, it's the most prestigious hall
Of
in the world.
course.
But maybe that's the very reason I cannot go there with a program that I don't feel fully aligned with. So this is something I learned pretty early, but I was not that good communicator back then, maybe. So I was a rebel, or I was challenging for many people because I'm an innovator. I and innovators are born to disturb. And I was, Marcia, I can tell you, I was disturbing a lot of people. Just to give another example, with my 47 years of life, I am one of the first, or the first, female singer songwriters in Hungary who got
Really?
like a larger popularity. So, I'm talking with you. You have, I don't know, Johnny Mitchell in the 60s or something. Like,
Right.
I do that work 40 years later in Hungary. So, but my work also opened a lot of gates to other younger women, which I'm so proud of. But I was an innovator, and it was disturbing and also difficult for me. But when this phone call came around the Carnegie Hall concert, I knew that if I go to that stage, which is a dream stage, I want to stay and sing there fully in my power, not meeting anyone's expectations, not doing something that I was told to do, because I know that that's when I give the most to people as well.
And that's true for everybody, and so few people are willing to stand in their power and rock the boat and be disruptive. And so now I'm going to use it because you actually are a voice coach and a transformational voice coach, but you use it to help women like me who don't ever plan to sing use the power of their voice. So tell me how you went from singing to coaching women, and including very powerful women, neuroscientists, others, because I've watched some of your videos from some of your
Thank
clients,
you.
right? So you coach women who are superstars in their own right. And there's some questions we'll go through that I want the audience to think about. But how did you get from singing to coaching and being a voice coach, but using that to help transform women's lives?
Beautiful question. Thank you.
Mhm.
So, even as a songwriter, I got the most feedback I got that, oh, Bea, you changed our life with your songs. So the feedback wasn't about me being a great singer or me being beautiful or amazing. Okay, for a while it counts when you're on stage, but after a certain point of filling up your success tank, it's not what inspires me, at least. It's
Right.
my heart start to beat much more when I hear people's stories about their transformation through my songwriting work. Oh my God, even now as I say this to you, I have all kinds of body sensations and tears in my eyes, because you know I say things in my songs like about woman's life, about this very physical raw power, sexuality, the generation line, which can be very burdened by heavy stuff. So how do we re-narrate that? Is there any sex after birth giving? How do we grow into relationship and not stuck in it? How do we deal with divorce or abortion or anything? So those kind of things, it's someone needs to say that. And in Hungary, I happen to be one of the voices that can sing that. So already this work, it has started already with my songwriting work. And then later, as I got deeper into the conversation with my public, really I felt like this framework of performing on stage and writing songs, it's simply not enough. I love it. I still doing it. I still, I
Right.
still melt on stage, and I love being so free on stage and free people's, I don't know, every body part and breathe deep, and it's beautiful. But I felt that there is something more I want to say. So I started to teach about creativity, because as I'm an innovator,
Right.
I had a lot of stories about how I convinced my surroundings to do a certain kind of project, which was very new and very, of course, a lot of fear occurred because it was, something new. And so I put together um, a creativity course online in
Mhm.
2012 when I was pregnant with my first daughter. But then I started to teach it in 2019. And then COVID hit. And I was there. Okay, my manager wrote, hey, there's no concerts from one day to another. Okay, what then? I have two daughters. I was a single mom. I divorced 2 years before. What then? Okay, I have this creativity course. I will lower the price, half price, and I want to teach and help as many people as I can. A lot of people came, like much more. And so I somehow the meaning of giving and helping people, it become even deeper. So then I started to think, wait a minute. I know voice. I've spent my 4 decades of life in the kingdom of voice. So why don't I teach things about the voice? This wisdom is so valuable. So I started to put together the material, the curriculum, but then how do we do that via Zoom or via the online
Mhm.
platforms we use? So I started to test how do I teach. And and then it led me towards this mentor we have in common. So that's where we met, Marissa Murgatroyd. And
Mhm.
so it was, and I have a beautiful coach, Deborah Lindegren, there, who helped me a lot to really step into my power, because then I
Yes.
saw that if I can if I can do that. And I really tested a lot before I started to
Mhm.
teach in English. I have tested, like, I
Yes.
don't know, 2 years, and I asked for feedback constantly from people. And then I saw their transformation. And Marcia, I cannot talk about it without tears. It's the thing that
Oh,
it is the very thing that keeps me up late night in, at computer and working on the most crazy vocalization technique or metaphors or visualization or songs, or and then next day go to the screen again and
right.
again and again. So when 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 you help people with your true raw power and feminine voice, and you see the transformation, it shines back to you and it gives more energy, then you give more. And so it's this reciprocity in my work started to give me, I don't know, like a body of business or coaching
Yes. Hmm.
thing that I'm doing now. I say it
Right.
thing or business or my life, I don't know, my people's testimonials and transformation. So so it was pretty much it, the last decade of my life. And I'm so happy I got there, because not just not only I became the mother of two beautiful daughters, but with this almost motherly love. I'm not mother, I'm coach when I'm coach, I'm
Right.
teacher when I'm teacher, but and you're a mother, yes,
Hmm.
and all women has some quality of motherness, motherhood.
Hmm. Right.
I can help now much more people, and the level of transformation is kind of unexpected for them as well, and for me as well. So it's
So,
we are
so what kind
talking.
of women reach out to you? So what kind, so it's again, you have, like I said, I watch some of the people now, some of the people have a musical background, but you talk to women and you train them to use their voice, and you actually have some questions. I'm going to read them, right? So you pose 3 questions to women. The first one, and I'd like you to give some examples of why this is
Yes,
an important question.
yes,
So first you ask, does my voice carry the weight and power of my position and have the influence I want to have whenever I speak? This is such an important question. I'm also a law, in addition to being a coach, I'm a lawyer and a law professor. A lot of times I'll coach my students when they have to do oral argument or they have to do mock trials. And they sometimes don't realize, especially some of the young women, don't realize the importance of tone and pace and those kinds of things. But why is sound and tone and those things, why that's especially important for women?
yes. So it's a beautiful question, and it's nice to hear back as you read it up. By the way, with a beautiful voice,
Thank you.
so beautiful, powerful, and a very open voice. So this
But
was
by the
the
way,
thing.
I took acting lessons for 4 years when I was
Ah,
younger. And so
amazing.
learning to project, I can project. I don't ever need a microphone. I mean, I'll use it, but it's something that, but it's that's why I'm not afraid to speak in public, etc. And I can't sing. So whenever we did musical theater, I always had
Until
the
now.
non-singing roles. But it's an important thing. It's so natural to me, but it's not to most people.
Yes.
So when you're talking to them, first of all, do you make them speak to you and you help them work with their tone? What do you do when if somebody would reach out to you and say, I don't find that I can find the right way to express myself in a meeting? How do you help them?
Yes. Oh my God. So one question after the other. So I improvise around these thoughts. Okay, this topic is beautiful. So the first impression we had of a person, because we are actually animals still. Like the first impression is body and sound. Look at those. I mean, we live near to the forest. If two animals meet, they give a sound. So they check each other. So this is the first impression we have of a person, not just of a woman, of any person. Body language and sound. And so there is a study that it's usually 2 seconds that you got me at hello or you don't. Because you can say a hello or a hello or a hello. It says so much about the person. And of course, I'm coming from the other side, so I come from the singing side. So when I go to any concert hall, even just the way the singer holds her body and say the or sing the very first note, I know already. So I come from that world. And then I started to study speakers and coaches. How do they do? And many times the most powerful coaches, i I got like oh my God, can she hold the breath till the end of the sentence? Or, oh my God, I'm holding her as a listener. And so many times, and even like, oh my God, I did that. So many times I hear that the beautiful, powerful women who teach other women to how to play a bigger game, many times they kind of don't don't carry this weight in their voice. Why is it important? Because the message through the words is that I am teaching you to become bigger. And what the voice says is that I'm still shrinking and I'm still small. And by the way, from another angle, I can talk about myself as well, not from voice perspective, but I also played a very small game before I started to have those coaches I mentioned. So it's also true for all of us. I'm not just pointing out others. It's also true for me, but if something I know, it's voice. So many times I was so excited, even now before this
Mhm.
conversation, I was
Right.
like, oh my God, I'm not a native English speaker, blah, 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 blah. So, okay, but I do know voice. What do I have to do? Open my upper lips and just let those words coming out from my mouth the most loving, connected way to you and to the public, and it will be all right. And see,
Absolutely.
so to your second question, it's already a little hint or a tip
Mm.
that what do I say to my clients? Whatever the message that you mentally worked out and wrote down and put on Google Doc on paper and read it and memorized it, say it as it would be a song. So if you
Wow.
forget, yeah, because I'm a singer, and then I have
For
all
you,
kinds
it's
of.
easy to say for you. Sing it like it's a song.
But you see, Marcia, you even did it because sing it like a song. It has a melody.
It's
Or
true.
I
It's true.
yeah. So I don't mean that you need to sing what you want to say immediately, but you can do certain things that goes for a song. So I even wrote a little poem for my students to experiment that in between. How is it to be in between speaking and singing? I am doing it now. So the little poem goes, fast and slow, high and low, soft and loud, break and sound, steely or velvety, monotony or melody. I don't know what's the ending, but
Mm.
you see, so even just one thing like using the silence more can change so much the reception of the speech. And so
Mm.
in the moment I ask to do that from a student, the importance of the words somehow going lower. And so immediately the level of connectedness in the communication goes up. Why? Because my people start to connect to their bodies. When they start to use any speech, and I'm doing it now, any speech as a song, just to play with tempo, pitch, tone, volume, and my favorite, break. So silence. And so let me give you two things to like a quote and a story.
Sure.
Because it's so beautiful, and I think you will get this deeply, and my your listeners. So I have a French philosopher, a feminist writer. I read her work. Her name is Hélène Cixous, and she wrote, and I think it stands for not just women, for any person, that
Hmm.
women will return to their body, the body that was more than confiscated from them. In the moment,
Wow. Mm.
yes. Then she goes, in the moment you reconquer your body, then you reconquer your breath. With your breath, you reconquer your truth, your speech. And then she says, write yourself. Of course, she was a writer. So it's so powerful, but I added, speak yourself. Or furthermore, sing yourself. So in the moment, the words and the songs or the notes flowing out from your body And the most important thing is to be connected to your listeners and to yourself and maybe to something higher. The quality of communication changes so much.
Why do you think it's so hard for women or for men, but I know you work mainly with women, to connect with their bodies? A lot of
Oh,
time, and I know you work with a lot of powerful women, a lot of times we're way up in our head and we don't necessarily have a mind, body, heart connection.
yeah.
So why is being in the body important? And are you meaning it in the context of you want to fill your lungs up so you can have a stronger voice, or just mean being connected to who you are? What does it mean to find
Oh.
your body?
Oh my God, the question of a lifetime. Oh, I love those questions, really. So beautiful. So I would say, yeah, also in terms of vocal apparatus, to fill up your lungs and then manage the air and open your resonant space in the vocal apparatus. Yes, it's one part of it. It's more the technical part of the voice. And by the way, we do all of that, a lot of it, because it's part of the game. By the way, I never really think that finding your own voice is possible just in a metaphorical way. It's a beautiful expression, even in Hungarian or any other languages it exists, but you need to have an actual physical voice to that.
Right.
And the other way around. You can be the best writer, best singer ever if you don't have your own truth, your own style. So I think the two, owning my own voice, is in a metaphorical and in a physical sense, is deeply intertwined. Just a little side note. But why is it difficult? Oh my God, big question. We are so much trained to not to connect to our bodies. Like if you
Mm.
think how many times we say to our kids, don't cry. Well, I don't say anymore, but we were probably raised up by
Yes.
hearing that a lot. Don't cry, don't shout, don't meaning don't express your emotions through sound
Hmm.
because I cannot handle it. So and
Right.
so it's so interesting that we learn those expressions as we learn how to speak. So we put the belief system about voice from our caregivers under our skin at a very young age. And by the way, in my teaching material, there is one part when we become scientists and we make a very curious, loving inquiry about our own use of language around the voice. But so we are trained to not to be in the body. And after all, and I can say that because you're a woman of probably we have a similar age, it's it's I think life itself, it's the art of presence, the being in the present moment. And we hear all the books about how to come back to the present moment because this is life itself. And then we forget the very thing that keeps us alive and joyful,
Right.
being resonant and being moving and being energized, nothing but by our own body and by our own existence. And voice is a great tool and a great reminder and a great tool to come back to the body because it's, you know, it takes its rise in the body, so it's originate in the body inside, but it goes beyond the body. So it's
Right.
at the same time in the body and outer from the body. So you were talking about projecting the voice to the outer world, which is a beautiful image, but also I think the good voice is always also inside. So why do I call voice as a queen of the, I don't know, the the techniques that you can be in your body?
Hmm.
It's because it's already in your body, but we don't really connect that. So many times I'm asked, okay, when you coach people, it's about speaking better or singing better. It's also that, but in reality it's just a tool to become a more authentic person. And it was the second part of your question, like what is to be connected to the body. I literally teach my women, speak that word from your vagina and say it from your
Whoa.
vagina. Yeah, Yeah, you can take that, Marcia. Teacher, lawyer, students,
I'm gonna put that's gonna be my quote on LinkedIn, and I'll probably get banned.
It's on LinkedIn. You already find it. It's already on LinkedIn because I'm famous about it. Talk from your vagina. How is to be? How is to give, not just to give a voice to your vagina, but speak your truth from the vagina. And of course, first, where is my vagina? So, of course, so many times we start by that. Although my women know it, but many times I have all kinds of energy work and visualization work to connect actually our vagina to our like lower lips, upper lips, open everything, and then give the
Love
voice
it.
up from there. Yeah, I know, and it's
Oh, I love it.
so. And thank you, and it's everyone loves it when I talk about it, and when we do it, because my course is about action and action and action and more action. It's love. It's life, it's aliveness, it's joy when a woman connect to her own space in the vagina and on the wombs. It's life itself, and it's nothing even sexual yet. It can be, but
Right.
it's life force energy. And so as I see my standing outness in the voice coaching business, I'm a woman. I'm a soul woman.
So I'm going to talk about soul because I want to talk to you about soul hunting. And this is something you do as an exercise in your course. And we are going to put links to your course in the show notes because people are probably saying, where can I sign up so I can talk through my vagina? Right. Or the men are saying, where can I get this from my partner so she can talk? But,
Exactly, that's what I get.
but let's talk about soul hunting. It's one of the things that you have your clients do. What does it mean, and why is it impactful?
Yeah. So it was one of the exercise that I developed actually just last year. But before, I was deeply into contemporary shamanism. I got a mentor called Wilbert Alex. He's up in the sky already and looking us,
Mhm.
watching us, speaking about those beautiful wisdom of the old shamans. And actually, soul hunting is a term in the shamanistic tradition, which is like you go to the dark, to go to the forest, and you hunt back your lost pieces, or your pieces that left you or you left them. So it's kind of an integration work, but with a very beautiful image. Like you need to go there and make actions in order to get back this integrated self. So I was thinking that if it's possible to do in a way they teach it, I don't know, it was with body, or I don't know, I don't even remember, because when I did that, I was pregnant with my first daughter, and it was lights, and it was crazy, and movement. But then I said, wait a minute, I know voice. My true superpower is that I can vocalize my authentic self, and I can really help to do that for others. So I know that I can really go to the extreme with my voice, and it's kind of like a soul hunting. So like I can shout, I can cry, I can scream, I can roar, I can, because I'm a singer. So 40 years in the realm of voice, that's what it does. So I know that. And wait a minute, didn't I just hunted my lost soul pieces back in my last decades of my singing life? Not so. Wait a minute. If I did that, can't I just teach that for my students? Okay, let's try. So I developed this exercise when we incorporate different figures, extreme figures throughout using our voice. So we become like Homo sapiens, or I don't know, like very ancient people before we had words, and then we say the successful story of a hunt with words and rah, rah, all this raw power. And I was the most surprised that when we make that exercise, this connection to this raw power, it's a source of life. People become so shining right after, like in a minute they become like, I don't know, illuminated. It's like your word.
Wow.
it's
Mm.
it's so, oh my god, I the light was like almost too much after bringing back, I mean, after giving permission actually in a framework to be that raw and that wild. So we become caveman or cavewoman or cave people. Then we become babies. Because if you
Hmm.
think back when we are babies, there there are no inhibitions about how do we open our upper lips. And by the way, Marcia, you open it so well, but probably you're trained also, but it's beautiful because many of
Okay.
many of my students, we have a hard time. But if you think back, and that's part of my exercise, when a baby wants milk and wants her mother, eh, eh, she doesn't this baby doesn't have any inhibition on how much do I open my upper lips, like,
Right,
and then
right,
you will
right.
scream because you scream for your life. And this we also forget. And believe me or not, but all of us have this capacity, because otherwise we
Yes.
wouldn't survive babyhood. So it's like, and then I even told funnily to my students, hey, I'm gonna write a novel about the upper lip because it's like it says a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah. And
Hmm.
many times when I have a short time with a client, okay, say that message on a presentation in a boardroom by doubling the upper lips. No matter what are the words that you need to say, double or triple the opening in the upper lips. And I feel you're already, you have all kinds of sensations. And so then it's extremely efficient. And then become sexually free person. So we give the voice of sexuality, of sexual energy. And then
Hmm.
in the end, we become wolves. And the reason we become wolves is because one of the book that really gave me the most, it was Clarissa Pinkola Estes, The Woman Who Ran the Wolves.
Yes.
Around the women who run with the wolves.
Right,
Sorry, I
women with
never
their own
said.
souls. Yep.
Yeah,
And we'll
sorry, I
put a
never
link.
said.
We'll put a link to that in the show notes also. I know the
It's
book you're talking
beautiful.
about.
I'm so sorry I never said it in English, this title, but it's she's a Mexican storyteller. She's actually a Mexican storyteller, but she was raised by Hungarian parents. It's so interesting, her story. And so she a wolf there is a symbol. In one story is a symbol of wildness and raw power. So we
Yes.
become as we women, we by this wolf sound, we become connected to the moon. So these four characters actually are so liberating. That's where my neuroscientist students come in the
Yes.
picture. Michelle
Right.
Fitos, yeah, she's beautiful.
Yes.
Michelle Fitos, one of my beautiful clients, she said that all her main transformation happened through psychedelics, except the auditive soul hunting, because it was so efficient to switch off the ego, the prefrontal cortex here who watch
Right.
us. Who am I? That she was so free, and she did it twice, so she knows the exercise. So I'm so happy, I can give that to people. It just makes my
Yeah.
heart bigger and bigger.
It's funny you talk about the importance of the lips because in English there is an expression about keeping a stiff upper lip, right? That you basically are going to, just focus on what you're supposed to do, don't cause any problems, don't be disruptive. And I'm not sure if you've ever heard that expression in English, but it is an expression that, when you're going to be dealing with something, just keep a stiff upper lip. And I think between what you said earlier about don't cry, don't speak only when spoken to, don't make noise, you're too loud, you're too this, all of that, I think it affects everybody, but I think it
Oh
especially
my
affects
god.
women because we're always trying to figure out. I just saw Barbie the other day, so all that's my
Oh,
head, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
we're
yeah.
always trying to figure out how do we conform to what society wants us to do. So the
Oh,
fact that people can howl at the moon, can,
oh
you
my
know,
god.
talk through their vagina must be very liberating, but also must be a little scary to some people. What's
Oh
probably
yeah.
less scary is you ask people to do a lullaby and talk to us about this self lullaby and what
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is.
Yeah, thank you so much. And just to comment on what you have just said, and thank you so much. I didn't know that expression, and it's
Now you
so,
can add that to your course
yeah,
because
thank you.
it's relevant. Any English speaker is going to know the expression, and
And
it
it's
really is exactly like what you're talking about because it's what we're
yeah.
taught.
Yeah. And I had like the first, of course I always teach, I'm tuning in to my students. So we go slow. So we go like, we put that on the voice side, like you need to open, but actually it's way deeper than that to
Hmm.
open the upper lips. And I didn't know that expression and how much the use of language affect a culture. It's so interesting. So all beautiful people who listen to us, just make your upper lips loose, even take it and put it. But we have all kinds of exercise, like we become
Mhm.
horses and everything. So it's actually, you cannot not open after a while. That's the way. So
Mhm.
what was the original question then? This
This was about the self lullaby
the self lullaby, yes.
and
So the
why you
other,
recommend it.
yes. So first, I've been singing lullabies at least for 11 years to my daughters, because they are 11 and 7 every night, and also for my lovers and partners, of course.
Mm.
But this is something that become more important through motherhood, how love and the voice can be a connection to my daughters, and to how calming and soothing voice can be. But we all know that. But what we don't do that much when we need to love someone out of ourselves, another body, another, I don't know, a lover, a child, a pet, a dog, we are happy to give our voice to this person or to this
Mm.
being, but we don't give the same tenderness to ourselves. So, what is happening throughout my whole teaching material, everywhere, whatever I teach, online or in person in the world, every time we close the session with a self lullaby. And my job was lately to hold the space for the tears that come up.
Wow.
Oh my God, even now, because what people told me after that, they don't know how to be that tender with themselves and use this voice, which is at our fingertips, or I don't know, really in our
Mm.
bodies, to give this love to ourselves. So I literally invite, even now, I invite you, Marcia, just to do that. Just hold yourself, hold your upper arms, and softly you can just move. And we just take any lullabies. We can go, Ashabai, don't you cry, sleep, you tiny little baby. When you wake, you shall have all the tiny little horses, dapples and
Mm.
bays, pintos and grays, all the tiny little horses. And then we go on, and with the melody, we start to sing our own name. Of course, for me, it's always an invitation. So first I sing the names of my students, and they got in a bubble of love, and then they go with their own name. And so when I see that on and on, and I got a feedback from a woman, actually, she'll talk about in a testimonial interview, when we first got to that point after the first class, she was crying half an hour after in the arms of her husband. Because,
Wow.
is because somehow we forgot this very simple tool of self love. Like, I prepare the territory, of course, because I do self check in when we talk to ourselves to the camera, which is an easier one, maybe. But also,
Right.
my clients are healers, coaches, therapists, and many times they use the device to connect to others.
But
And I
not to themselves.
invite them to literally talk muted, talk to themselves. And I hold the space for them, but I don't hear them. So it's a so interesting thing to all these connection tools to ourselves. And I see how they grow. And I'm almost convinced that, yeah, voice technique and all this self-knowledge work and visualization is one part, but many times the self-lullaby, this is like a crown on all this curriculum, because in minutes you can pour so much love into your system. And this is maybe the very love that you've been missing for so long, and you expect it from others or from
Mm.
sex, from I don't know, from someone, from a partner. And here it is. You can have it through singing. But also, I spend my life in Hungarian music, gypsy music, Jewish music, Bulgarian music, where all these traditional lullabies, I just, oh my God. Also, musically, too beautiful to not to sing those. So it's like,
It's funny because I would joke and I say it because I don't sing publicly. But as soon as my son was born, the very first thing he did is I sang to him. And I think that is such an instinct that we all have for somebody else.
yeah,
And if we sing in the shower, we're singing somebody else's lyrics,
yeah,
right? But we're not singing to ourselves. We're singing the words that somebody else wrote about something else, about some fictional person or fictional situation. Because when you were singing, and I was kind of in my head thinking, I was like, I just felt so calm and so peaceful. So that is
mm,
something I am 100% going to add to my routine, morning and evening, because
oh
I
my,
can see how that can just really, again, it's also a connection to your heart and to your body, right? And to yourself. And,
oh my
and
God.
we think of self-care and we would do our affirmations in the mirror, but I don't think people really thought of, let me just sing to myself. But it is what every mother naturally does to their child, and to show the love to them, but we don't show it to ourselves. So thank you. That's been such a gift. And I know the listeners will also appreciate it.
Oh my God.
But I want to ask you, please go ahead. Uh,
I just want to say thank you so much. It's so nice to be understood and felt, because, and
yes.
and to start this little exercise under the shower or before you lie to mama bed, is that just sing your own name or on any melody, like Marcia, sweet baby, like you would say to your own baby, just your own name. And it's really a life changer exercise.
Yes. And it's funny because I'm doing a presentation for a company tomorrow about, there's actual lots of studies that show that when people chant or when people sing, especially if they sing in choirs or hymns, it actually has an effect, especially if you do it daily, on your amygdala, on the fear factor, on your ability to relax. I'm actually talking about that tomorrow. I do chant. I just don't necessarily sing, but it's the same thing. Part of it's the vibration, and you would know this,
Yes.
but it actually can tangibly affect your brain. So not only you're going to feel better, but you're
Yeah.
doing something, especially if you do it consistently, that's good for the long run.
Yeah, and before you ask the next question, is so interesting what you're saying. Many things, I could add so many things, but what you're saying, I do chant, but I don't sing. And when I said, oh, any speech of your life
Yes.
from a short hello can be considered as a song. So what if you sing? What if any presentation is a
Well,
chanting?
that's why I tell you why I said, because the guru who's in Malaysia says, when you do these, we don't want you to sing. So I think, again, somebody else telling you what to do, right?
I
But
know.
there's certain things you're like, no, you're going to do it this way and you're going to hold your voice. But again, it's the power of the vibration in your body that
Yes.
really is the key
Yeah.
part. But
Now
now
I
I
am.
can chant and I can sing. How about that? I'll do the chanting and then I'll do
Yeah.
my lullaby.
I
Now I
love
want
it.
to
I
ask you
love it.
this. You have, in addition to being in Carnegie Hall, and of course you forgot about Kennedy Center because, it's just
Sorry.
Kennedy Center. One of your mentors is also a world famous healer, Dr. Gabor Mate, and I watched all of his videos. He's had a
Yeah.
tremendous impact in my
Yes.
life. Tell me how you were able to meet him and what's the impact he's had on your life.
Yeah. Well, he's a little unofficial mentor because he's more my
Mm,
friend, because we both happen to be Hungarian. And the last
mhm,
12 years, actually, we meet on a regular basis because when he started to, of course, he's Hungarian, but the books weren't translated to Hungarian just from 2012. I was very pregnant when I first met
mm,
him. And so we were at the same publisher house. So we had actually this publishing man, he became our common
mhm.
friend. And so he gave a lecture in 2012, a very rainy day like today in Hungary. Me, my big mama bear belly, I went in. We were like, I don't know, 40 people just in the little corner. And then I went there and I knew about him that he likes music very much. And I also knew about his Jewish roots. And I'm also, I have probably Jewish roots more. I know more about the gypsy, but anyway, I sing Jewish music. So I just made this. album about Sephardic songs, and I gave it to him. And then some weeks later, he wrote me back, and I I answered him late, so he was like, "Oh, you didn't take care of me." Or he was still pointing out, and that's how our friendship started. And then we started to meet especially when he comes to Hungary with his wife Ray, or we always meet around this book guy. And so, but then we started to speak on Zoom, and partly the reason he's not officially my mentor, but partly the reason I am teaching today, it's his encouragement. So the concrete sentences that he said: stop worrying about your English, just do your thing, just make people sing and heal them, those kind of things. And he was like, I think he got me. I don't know, I sang one time, we were together, him and Pamela Druckermann, other beautiful person, writer.
Hmm.
We were in Hungary, and then I was singing, and when I opened my eyes, because I was with eyes closed, and just that, I'm when I sing, I often go to another world of the untouchable things. So I'm kind of not there, and then it
Hmm.
takes some seconds to come back from there. And then I open my eyes, and there's Gabor in front of me, and he says, "What's to be in there? Like, what's to be in there? Like, how was it to be in there? Like, in there." So he got the whole thing. And since ever we started this friendship and we talk, and I also, uh, we had quite some Zoom conversations about how he wrote this book, The Myth of Normal. And also, when I got divorced, I was broken. And so I met him,
And
and
just before you go on, he's, for people that don't know, and I'll put links to this, he is, he speaks a lot worldwide about trauma
yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
and trauma, addiction, so many other issues, which is why I started looking at his work years ago. And so, when you were going through this divorce and you talked in the past a little bit about
Mm.
trauma, how did he help you, and how do you use what he did to help others?
Oh, thank you so much for telling some words about his work.
Mm.
I just forgot in the
He's
flow.
just your friend, but
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
rest of the
yeah,
world,
that's right.
to the rest of the world, he's one of the living experts on trauma, and people study him in books.
Yeah. So the first thing he said, it was funny actually. Who was this crazy person who divorced from you? I thought we can just marry you, not divorce you. It was the fun part.
Yeah.
But then I was broken, and so yeah, we were talking a lot about why it happened and how it happened, and how can I heal myself. So the first, not only, but the first thing, the first idea that he gave to me, although I knew, but now it's very traumatic and it's very deep, but it won't stay that like that. So you can go and do your healing work. And also just the fact that, um, I read his book about, I don't know what was the first, the scattered mind, or I don't remember what was the first, but just to, I felt from this man that he got the thing. He gets it. I don't know how, but he gets it. And he's a physician, so he proves it scientifically that if we are ill, it's not just the body. There must be something more. There's, as you said in the beginning, that this whole system of mind, body, and guts and heart, it's one system. So it's we need to analyze the whole system in one, as a whole, as a one unit. So,
Right.
and also, so we were talking a lot about my relationships and everything. But then I remember one time I told him, I want to teach, but I'm afraid that who am I to teach big empowered women, or big women, with my
Right.
poor English and gypsy back to the marginalized me, this little gypsy who is born to serve others, but just from the edges, from. And it was a very hard thing for me. And then he was looking at me on the camera, and he says, "To whom you speak now?" He says, "Do you speak to yourself? Because you don't have to prove it for me."
Mm. Right.
And we have a deep connection and respect, and 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 a lot of, yeah, we know a lot about each other's life, and also his family is beautiful. Ray, it's a beautiful person. So uh yeah, and then we happened to be on stage together in Hungary last year when his book was translated, and it was wonderful to be just, the same two person that we are when we are just the two of us on stage in front of thousands of people, and
Yeah.
talking about teaching and serving the world with healing modalities.
Yeah. Now, I want to ask you a question because you're in Hungary and I'm filming in the United States, and you've used a term that people in the United States say is a slur, and you've used the word gypsy repeatedly. So, for the audience, because people in the US were told, don't say that word, it's not a good word,
I
but you've
know.
used it to describe yourself.
Yeah.
What does that word mean to you, and why do you use it?
It's just ethnicity for me. I know the official would be Rom or Romani people,
Right.
but I always, I was always gypsy, so I like it was, so it's just it's just a simple word, and it's for me. There's I don't have this connotation. Well, I do know that also in Hungary it's not the official, uh, but I'm just coming from a rehearsal with my gypsy musicians who call themselves gypsies because that's what we call, for the last,
Hmm.
I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of years. And so we make a lot of fun, because we call I'm not gypsy culture like them, those musicians who grow up in the gypsy tradition. I'm half gypsy, and also this gypsiness of my mom is not really, welcomed in her system. So
Hmm.
me talking about this made her shameful, and it was a big fight between us. So just a side note, but because it's marginalized, it makes her even more, it pushes
Hmm.
her to the edge. All the effort that she did, it was going to the center and belonging to the society and being accepted. But I realized that my gypsiness, my very Rom blood, is the key to belong authentically to some community. So I don't know. I know that officially I should use the term Rom.
No, you
Uh,
should use the term that is comfortable for you. And I
and
think and we're not going to edit it out because that is how you've
yeah,
expressed yourself. But I want
yeah.
I meant to ask you in the beginning of the interview because I believe people should be able to call themselves whoever they are, and that is how you identify. And it's not a problem for me, but I just looked like, wait a minute, we're not supposed to use the word gypsy. So I just want to make sure we put that in there
Mhm.
and that I wanted to give you the chance to explain for yourself in case
Yes,
people are
thank you.
saying, wait a minute, why are we using that word?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you so much. And I think it's not that negative. I
Mhm.
mean, also in Hungary, it
I'm in the United
started.
States. We're in the United States. We every single thing is an issue right now. So we
I
have to be,
know.
we have a lot of sensitivities, and so I always want to be respectful, and
Yeah,
that's why I wanted you to identify yourself in the way that you're comfortable because it's you, right?
yeah,
And who am I to say how you should call yourself? Because I
yeah.
think that is offensive for me to tell you don't use that word if that is how you identify.
It's so beautiful, this part of the conversation, and I hope you listen. I mean, everyone listens it with love, but I know you do, because Marcia is your tribe. So it's it's really, for me, I don't have this connotation, but I have to be maybe more careful when I talk in America, that yet this word has maybe some negative connotation for others, but I'm coming from that world. And when
Right.
I also, actually, I played in two French films. Both are the theme of the life of gypsy men or gypsies, like Romani people, let's say.
So let me ask this. Let me close with this. This has been such a rich conversation, and we are going to put information about how people can work with you. I also know you have courses coming up, so we'll put
Yeah,
those links as well.
thank you so
If
much.
you wanted people to remember just one thing from this conversation, because there's so much, the self lullaby, the
Yeah.
soul hunting, the speaking from your vagina, all the different things, the upper lips, the so much. What's one thing, if people remembered nothing else, that you want them to know?
Your voice matters, and the voice is the mirror of your soul. So next time you step on any stage of your life, in a boardroom, presentation room, big hall, or just a fight with your partner, know that your voice matters, and open those lips to convey your own truth, your own message. And in a moment you open your lips, the sound will come out. So it's like, it's so crazy as that, because we were talking about vagina and opening the upper lips, but just this very thing that anything, when you open your lips to sound, a word or a song, it's a stage. So it's your chance to say your truth. And each time you say it or you sing it or make it sound, it will be doubled, tripled, hundredfold. It will be more true. And so that you will be more true and whole yourself, your whole body and soul will be more integrated. So actually, working with your voice is a path towards wholeness.
I love it. That is beautiful. And on that note, I want to thank you so much, Bea, for singing with us, for exposing us to so many things that I know I have not heard before. And again, I hope that many people will work with you. We'll put all the links in the show notes to your website, to some of the resources that you discussed. And
Mhm.
I look forward, and maybe one day we'll have a part 2 of this, because I'm going to try some of this. And I know you have so much to say. So I would love to have you back on again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much from my heart for you, for our listeners, and everyone who is around. It was just pure joy and aliveness. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us. Stay tuned for the next episode. If you like what you heard, subscribe and share it with others.